G'day Tiger fans and welcome to Talking Tigers, Richmond's live weekly podcast. Well, we didn't get the result that we wanted down at the Cattery on the weekend, but we definitely were not disgraced. It's a tough trip down there to Geelong. Not many teams come away with the points, and we've got our destiny in our hands over the next few weeks. Head over to Freo this week, Sunday night. Looking forward to that one and bringing the 4 points home and staying in the top four. Plenty for you today on the show. Camden McIntosh, boys, he's going to come in and join us live on TT. He wants to have a crack back at Sean Grigg and the rumours that he's been spreading about his 2-ton cement table. So Camden will be in a little bit later on, as will our VFL man, Louis Gillette. He'll be in. Gillette. He's coming in. I'll get it right eventually. Yeah. He's coming in to talk about the twos down at Geelong. But we've got a couple of issues that we need to raise with Lou. We have to get on top of this. He's getting out of hand. All your regular segments. JB's got a bit of news. Greeners will have his jokes in the spirit of 67. And we'll just generally have a chat, boys. Welcome.
Yes, Richo, JB. That song, just first up off the top, had absolutely no footy connection at all. But the great Glenn Campbell passed away last week after a battle with Alzheimer's. So, it was just, he was an absolute musical icon. And
he's a giant, isn't he?
Oh, huge. And that's just one of my all-time favourite songs, Galveston. Great song.
Have you seen the doco that was...
I haven't seen it. It's worth obviously seeing.
It's really good. I didn't know a lot about Glenn Campbell, but the doco was outstanding, and he was on the road. He had Alzheimer's, but he was still able to get up at night and perform all his own songs. So it was extraordinary. Check that out if you can. Get involved with the show. # Talking Tigers, or you can stump Greeners as well if you want to try and win a TTT. But boys, look, it wasn't the ideal result on the weekend, but I didn't think we were disgraced, JB.
No, it was a disappointing day result-wise for the VFL and the AFL sides. But yeah, I mean, the thing that we can take out of it is what you mentioned before. Destiny is still in our own hands, and
that's what
I think just in the key moments and the key contests they were better drilled, and like they scored from our turnovers, and we weren't able to produce enough scores from ours. So
intensity was all right, wasn't it?
Intensity was there.
Okay. Our clearance work was pretty good. So.
I never subscribed to the theory that everyone was trying to put out, Geelong's got Selwood out and they've got,
they had
Hawkins.
Duncan out and Hawkins. I mean, look at their ends were pretty handy. So Dangerfield comes in, Motlop comes in and plays his best game of the season.
And Menzel's
a pretty
very
fair
good
player.
Yeah, their ends
and Stanley on his day is not a bad player. So so I never subscribed to that. So, and it was always going to be tough. They'd been beaten the previous week at home by Sydney, so it's very rare they lose any time at home, let alone two in a row. Not that that's a reason.
I think the last time they lost two in a row was 06.
I think so, when they didn't play finals.
So people need to cool their jets a little bit. It wasn't disappointing, as I've had a few people.
I think I said that before.
No.
Result-wise.
No, I know what you're saying.
No, but people then that say, we let everyone down because we can't be trusted now. I mean, we're coming off 4 wins in a row. Yeah. I just find that just staggering that then against the good side
again.
Well, there's a few. There's a few that say, we can't trust Richmond yet.
Well, Wayne Carey on Talking Footy last night.
Well, he talks a lot of sense.
He was positive.
Stuff,
he does talk
sense.
Yeah.
He gets it anyway.
But anyway,
you know what I do dread?
What?
I dread every weekend that comes by, every round, and I dread that there's going to be an incident, right? Like with the Toby Green, and there's been many, the sling tackles, and then I dread that because for the next 5 or 6 days, that's all that will dominate the football headlines and the talkback. That's all we hear.
Yeah, well, I touched on this on Sunday. It just... There's so much good stuff going on in football, but all we talk about is one negative incident.
It just does your head in because it's all you hear. It's all you hear, and and then they'll go on. We invite callers, and they'll have their separate opinion, but you just get sick of it. You absolutely get sick and tired of hearing it.
The hysteria around every single incident.
So what's the solution? Can we have a rolling tribunal over the weekend or something? Because it happened Friday night, and the resolution doesn't come out until Monday afternoon.
That would help a little bit, but still then, after the decisions come down, then they'll still talk about it for 2 days. Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, I don't mind that idea. Just get it done straight away.
It would be better, but it's still just anyway.
Grimes's 100th game.
Great effort.
Yeah, it's taken him a little while, hasn't it, JB?
Yeah,
obviously he's had
with a few injuries and whatnot, but it's going to be great to go over for Grimesy to play his 100th game for the club, and a testament to his character to be able to fight through some of those injuries.
His last couple of years, and certainly this year, touch wood with the continuity with his footy. And
That's what it is, continuity.
Yeah, and he just,
Every player needs continuity, and Grimesy, for couple of years there, just didn't get any continuity, did he, with those hamstring issues
No.
that he had in particular. And once you get that, he's gone ahead in leaps and bounds. He's a good player.
But even when he started, like I think about game 2 or 3, he actually played on Buddy, and I think he had he just a lot of spoils that game against Buddy in the wet at the G. But he's an extremely good player. Like he's his closing speed,
he's
his
versatile,
composure, and he's tough. He's brave. He's really
He can play on an Eddie Betts, but then he can play on a Lance Franklin, like you said. So
no, he's a beauty.
He's part of a pretty good back six at the moment.
Well, I just wouldn't mind mentioning another couple of players in that back six that probably don't necessarily get as much publicity necessarily. But Nick Floston, since he's returned to the team, he's been in tremendous form since his return.
I think it's nearly the best game I've seen him play on the weekend.
Yeah, he had career high. He had game high metres gained even for us. I think with 580 odd metres gained, but. Just his intercept, he reads the play so well, and he also is very, very tough, isn't he, JB?
Yeah, absolutely. And like whether it's a high ball or on the ground, he put his head over it, and he certainly made a massive difference. Coming back to the team, but also going back, shoring up the back line as well. And you can just trust him. With the footy,
absolutely,
and that's great. And another one who has come in and probably hasn't got the plaudits that even Nick has is Nathan Broad, who's someone who's just
gets better every
just
week.
Getting his job done, and I think he had career high possessions on the weekend. So
he's had more each week that he's come in. He's just increased his number of disposals. So
he's part of a back line that's the number one defence in the comp.
Yep.
So he's doing his job very, very well.
Just on that, obviously
he covers a lot of ground, Brody, too.
He does, and he's intercept quite well too, and he's pretty composed. Just obviously, Rancy had a pretty ordinary game. Was touched up.
Doesn't happen very often.
No, but is it an issue? It's happened probably 2 or 3 times this year. With it happened against St Kilda with Rewald.
Well, it is a tactic that they're using. Harry Taylor played it well, making Rancy come back and play closer to goal. And that seems to be the tactic, doesn't it? Port Adelaide have done it. St Kilda did it with Rui, and now Geelong with Harry Taylor. So,
but Rancy's a good enough player to overcome that, isn't he?
Oh, of course he is. Yeah. He'll have a look at the game and he'll work out. And there's no doubt, Freo will probably try it this week. I don't know if they've got a forward that's capable of pulling it off like Harry Taylor. He's a very smart player.
He is. Yeah.
And he had a very good game, but Rancy doesn't have many poor games, does he?
No,
so
not
you
at all.
Can't get into him about that.
Just want to make mention of Harry Beitzel, absolute great of the game, of media, and obviously been an umpire. He passed away early this week, age 90. So
it's probably a bit before my time, but I've heard a lot about him.
Well, because it was right in the time that I started to become interested in football, and I reckon one of the first things I ever read football-wise and got hooked on footy was Footy Week magazine, which was a forerunner to Inside Football, where I was for many years. But Harry was huge in his day.
Did you employ Harry?
Huge. No,
you employed everyone else.
He was one of the few that I didn't know. But he was massive. He was like a combination of Eddie Maguire, Rex Hunt, and I don't know who else you can throw in.
Multimedia megastar.
He's commentary, and he got excited, and he was a real innovator. And you told me before you'd seen the Galahs...
The great documentary.
If you
with
Tony Wilson's
watch the Glenn Campbell one and watch the one with Harry Beitzel when they took the Galahs. I think it was 68 or 69.
I think 67. 67, 68.
A few of the Tigers boys in there, Roger Dean,
Royce and
Royce went
KB,
on that trip.
KB, yep.
And they went over to Ireland and played, and then they went through America as well to New York.
Which was the forerunner, of course, of the international rules.
And that was all put together by Harry Beitzel. He actually funded it as well, out of his own pocket.
But he was massive, and obviously then started on 3KZ, his football, and then 3RW, and then he was on ABC, had hosted shows. So he was massive, Harry, and So send our sympathies to his family.
I didn't laugh, but Toby Green with the beer poured over him on the weekend. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure what they're whinging about. I just wanted to bring this up because I had a Collingwood supporter who threw a cup of bourbon on me one night. They took it in a hit glass.
Was it good bourbon?
And I remember Prestic Giacomo, when I went back out after half-time, they threw it on me at half-time. Presty thought I'd been on the booze at half-time. It was pretty funny.
Look, we don't condone it, but in the old days, some of the stuff that used to happen when you played at Victoria Park
or down at Moorabbin.
Geez, you'd be happy if it was just a beer that was poured on you. Yeah, or
down at Moorabbin.
Oh, yeah, the animal enclosure. Anyway.
Hey, there's been a lot of retirees already this year, some of the biggest names, and we mentioned Luke Hodge because, of course, he grew up as a Richmond supporter.
Yes.
Yeah, I know who you're going to say.
Another one is...
another Tiger.
Yeah, Bob Murphy.
Oh, big Tiger he was.
I've talked about this on Talking Tiger Sport. Bob Murphy did work experience at Richmond when he was about 14 years of age.
Yep.
He was a mad Tiger supporter, Bobby.
Yeah, well, he can go back to being that now, can't he?
Yeah, I don't think he will.
No, probably not.
He's a Western Bulldog for life.
That's true. That's
fine career. A great career, 310 games, and probably the body he came in with probably wouldn't have thought. I can hardly talk myself, but he's got everything out
You're
of
hardly
his...
built like Tarzan there, JB.
Oh, well, that's why I said. the listeners don't know that, do they?
He's been self-deprecating.
Bob, I thought Bob still had his pace. I thought he probably could have
Kicked a
played
nice
on.
goal on the weekend,
Yeah,
I saw.
yeah.
With that,
And Josh Gibson.
And Gibbo as well, retiring.
Pretty fair player. And he four premierships?
4 premierships. Best and fairest in 2 premiership years, Josh Gibson. That's pretty handy.
Yeah, very
Before we
handy.
move on to the email, I want to mention Trumbull and food at the MCG.
Oh, yeah.
You think of Hugh Trumbull? 'Cause
Hugh Trumbull.
There's a Hugh Trumbull cafe there, of course,
yeah.
and the great cricket.
Great cricketer.
Are we all familiar with the name Ned Trumbull?
No.
Out of the
No.
weekends.
No.
He's taken a leaf out of AC's book with the sun-dried tomatoes.
I thought that was AC.
Is this the bloke that was pictured, was it?
Yeah, he bought a cheese platter.
Oh, the
to
cheese
front
platter
row
and
of
the smashed
MCG.
Evo.
Yeah, yeah.
The smashed Evo.
He had some trout
some
as well.
He had some trout.
Yeah, some trout.
He's
You,
really,
can't, you can't go
Not
to the
trout from Wood End.
You can't go to the footy like that. Trout got in the blue, didn't he?
Yeah, I know. It wasn't his fault either. It was not Trout's fault, that's for sure. But so he might have just caught the trout as well.
Oh, I don't know.
Was it smoked trout?
It would have been smoked. There was a bit of
Reckon?
prosciutto on there as well. A couple
That's
of baguettes.
embarrassing.
But,
That's travelling well.
that
In the
is
members,
embarrassing.
only in the members.
it's Melbourne.
MCC
Good on
members.
him.
Yeah, good on him.
Just a couple of 4 and 20s. That'll do
Yeah,
the trick.
yeah.
but
Gluten-free pie.
Yeah, you have a hot dog or a pie at the footy.
I
Don't
can't.
you?
No, only if it's gluten-free.
You've got mail.
Got an email in from Phil Burrell from Mount Beauty in the wake of some of the political
Good spot,
stuff that's
Mount Beauty.
going on.
Yeah.
He's really upset after reading the reports in the media. He realised that Dusty can't be the Prime Minister now.
Oh, because of his New Zealand citizenship.
What about Barnaby Joyce? That's unbelievable.
Bananaby? Yeah, no, it's incredible, isn't it?
And the final one we got from Anthony Dilber. He's, lads, I was distressed to hear on last week's podcast that you were looking at canning one of the better segments of the podcast.
What's that?
What's that?
Well, unfortunately, Anthony says it's not Greeners' top 10. However, you're referring to the Yellow and Black Book specials.
Ah, well.
Oh, so does he still like it, does
Well,
he?
it needs to remain, and it appears that only JB has grasped the concept, although it was created by you, Greeners.
Right.
you
I
can
think
put-
that's why I'm a bit off it.
You can put as many layers on it as you like, but when you just pick Rancy, Koch and Jack week in, week out, you've shifted away from the reason it was created,
Yeah.
and that was to back in, with all due respect, one of the lower tiered players to step up and contribute.
Well, we'll consider it. We've got
Well,
our big,
I think
we've got
you
our
might. I think you
big,
might do that later.
end of season brainstorming special. So we will consider it then.
Well, hang around because you've gone with a big one today. I can't
That's
wait
right.
for
it's
you
a
to
good
tell
one.
everyone, yeah.
On that note, I think Anthony has put in his own Yellow and Black this week, and that's Ben Lennon to replace Caddy in the senior side.
yeah.
So, and
Might happen too.
on Twitter, we got one here from Sado153. Jake, a first-time tweeter,
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah.
He's been listening to the podcasts since May. Really enjoying it. Good way to pass time at work. So just don't tell your boss about that, but thanks for that. CJ saying losing Caddy in the first quarter really hurt our
Did.
rotations, affected the structure of the forward line
Dusty
as well.
had to go forward more.
Yeah, Dusty went forward. So Chris is saying that Dusty will go forward again this week, and Jack Graham will come in.
Oh,
to
well,
that.
don't,
Well, we don't
let's
spoil
just
it, we don't spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
A couple more.
We'll ask Lou. Lou will know
Yeah.
if he's going to come
Well,
up.
Lou will know if anyone will know. He's on the selection.
Speaking of
committee
Lou,
there, yeah.
Manfred's tweeted. There's a bit of a tiff going on between these two.
What's
I
going
think there's
on?
a bit
It's
of
Twitter wars.
competition.
Well, I think Manfred's jealous of Lou.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's younger.
I think, he's younger, he's better looking.
Doesn't wear silly jumpers.
Yeah.
Probably true. Yeah. Has got a ridiculous hair, do they?
Yeah.
Manfred saying that the tackling pressure and the pressure was right up there. Just a few critical contests that we lost, and Taylor's 4 goals, of course, didn't help. Brock Solid saying with Hammer, obviously back in the VFL team now, and Conker and Griff coming back this week, what happens to our elevated rookies? And, of course, last week, Soldo went off the senior list back onto the rookie list because of the mid-season. We had a free hit.
Right.
Yeah.
George.
Soldo came back on, and Hammer came back off.
Okay.
And I don't think Griff was ever on the long-term injury list.
Okay.
Right.
So the one that does need updating would be Conker.
Right.
And if you remember, I think Stengel came on as well as an elevated rookie. So
okay.
Stengel and George are still on there, and Soldo got the free whack as well.
Okay.
So
All right.
there
Thanks
is
for that.
space,
That's as clear as mud, that.
clear as mud. Well, Jess Benson wants to know whether we think Hammer will return before the end of the season to the
Well,
senior side. What do you reckon?
He's got a couple of weeks, hasn't he, to get his body where it needs to be?
You'd expect if he had 50% game time, I think the plan's 75% this week. So then it may be full game. Who knows? If his form's warrants it and he's fit,
He gets his hand on it. He's a very good ruckman,
He's
Hammer.
ranked number 5 or 6 in the comp last year for total hit out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And to advantage as well.
A couple of more. Christmas Smithers, he says that we probably
It's a
won't
great
know.
name, Christmas Smithers, isn't it?
He reckons all the caddy critics will finally grasp how important he is now that he is out of the side, so that's a fair point.
Yeah, an important structurally, yeah, definitely.
A lot more. Brendan Fisher, Ash Rodriguez, and the Tail all talking about potential ins this week in place of caddy, so we'll put them to Lou, I reckon, when he comes through.
Good idea.
So thanks, everyone.
You're not going to believe this, boys.
No,
You are not going to believe this.
What's he done now?
There's nothing.
What?
There's nothing on the Chief this week.
Oh, is it a buy?
He's just, I've got nothing.
Is it a buy
And
week?
This will prove to our listeners who, I've had people sort of question whether these stories are true. You know, people didn't believe
You
that
couldn't make them up.
No, you couldn't possibly make up some of the stuff.
People thought I was joking about Troy Casadale's kids and their club sandwiches.
No.
But I wasn't.
No.
That was true.
No.
So there's nothing on the Chief, but we will be addressing an issue with Lou when he comes in.
Like Lou Watch.
He's gone, Lou Watch. He has gone down the path of Brendan Gale, Lou,
Staggering.
which involves being out on the ground. So we'll give Lou a little
Does it involve GR's overcoat?
No, it doesn't.
Trench coat?
No, it doesn't. So, the Chief's been quiet this
Well,
week.
you know that when he's been quiet, that something's
brewing.
Something's brewing.
Yeah.
There's a trip to Perth. This week.
Oh, no.
Is there a good pool there?
Well, something will happen in
if he
Perth.
takes those budgie smugglers up there,
Actually, the pool,
seriously.
the pool at the hotel in Perth
Coldest.
is the coldest
in the
pool
world.
Is that
in
right?
the world.
I think that's the old hotel.
Which
Just
doesn't
on the
make
new-
sense.
is there likely to be full occupancy at that hotel?
There's not much on in Perth this week, so it might be a bit light on.
Keep an eye on Chief over there.
The Casadale kids are still crying.
Do you know how old they are?
Yes,
19,
I googled them.
19 and 16.
I googled them.
Doesn't mean they can't cry over a club scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As I did mention, we are going to Perth this week to play the Dockers on Sunday. There's an open training session at the main stadium on Saturday from 4 p.m, so everybody get along to that. Those who are lucky enough to get a ticket to the game, the Tigerland Superstore will also be at the main stadium on Sunday at Gate 10, open from 12 p.m. until the beginning of the game. Also, post-game, Flea's got a WA supporter group function
Hey, sweetheart.
Hello, sweetheart.
at the Subiaco Sports Bar from 5:15 p.m. Darren Gasper, guest
Gas.
speaker,
Gas.
and Barmy will drop in as well.
Oh, yeah, well, Barmy's, of course, a native of WA.
And Subi
Subi,
Sports
of
Bar.
course, Subi.
Funny you bring Gas up. Gas used to love his antipasto platters. It could have been Gas at the MCG on the weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
What would he have had?
Oh, he loved his meats, cured meats. Darren Gasper.
Yeah.
Olives.
Yeah, so
They're not meat.
No, well,
okay.
you put them on platters.
So just rock up to the Subi.
Well, you do.
I love the ones that have got anchovies in them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The olives with the anchovies.
Yeah,
Sorry,
JB,
yeah. Sorry,
go.
JB. Go for it.
Just rock up to the Subi Sports Bar after the game from 5:15 p.m. And last week, after our podcast, you would have seen that we got a new partner, NIB Health Funds. They'll be on the back of the Guernsey for the next 3 years. So we
You
welcome.
say NIB or is it NIB? You have to say NIB.
Either I'd
Is
say
it
NIB.
Oh, NIB.
So we welcome them on board as one of the great partners, and also
tremendous.
a shout out to the partner of Talking Tigers, Bang and Olufsen.
Yeah.
They're
They're good.
a magnificent job.
Did you wear them on the plane?
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
you would have needed
You
it
didn't want
back
to
in
hear from
30C.
about Lingy. You didn't want, yeah, where were you on the plane?
I was in the back row. 30C. I could open the toilet from where I was sitting.
Lingy might have been the best noises you'd hear back down that end.
Oh, yeah.
So we welcome NIB to
block out
the
him.
club, and they'll be on the back of the Guernsey from
Yeah, that's great.
2018 onwards. Injury list we mentioned, so Josh Caddy 2 weeks with a hamstring, which will see the end of the home and away season for him, and he gets the extra week with the celebration of football bye week. And Reece Conker, Ben Griffiths, Steve Morris all need to get through fitness tests this week to play on Sunday, and we'll speak to Burgie on the website a bit later. So if you're listening back, have a watch of that.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
What's wrong, mate?
Oh, just a bit off the back of, I'm sick of something. You're sick of the hysteria around certain... You know what I'm sick of? People who just cannot handle any personality in the game.
Yeah.
Joe Danaher on Saturday night kicked 3 goals in a row, and then he went up and
saw
patted
that.
Riley Knight on the head.
Who he played with, didn't he?
Who he played with at the Calder Cannons and has been mates with for donkey's
So
years.
it's a bit of fun.
Why is everyone carrying on about that? Do we want robots playing this game?
PC police.
Oh, fair
The
dinkum.
PC police.
I
They've
can't
infiltrated
believe that.
our game.
I think Joe Danaher is great for the game. He's got great personality. He's a terrific player. He's going to be a superstar.
Wouldn't mind him here.
Yeah. So just fair dinkum. We want to have a bit of personality in the game. We don't want everyone being the same out on the ground. So
No.
I just wanted to say,
Fair enough.
If you're a critic of Joe Danaher doing that, please lighten up a little bit. Really annoyed me.
Good point. Good.
Here it is.
Great sting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why did it take me so long? Well, thankfully, that Sconner's found this sting because it's the ideal sting.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is one of the probably segments that will go next year, isn't it? If you have your say, that'll be it. It's
Oh, this
all
is
over.
gone.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I might
That's a good
redeem
one.
myself.
Good
This is
one
a
today.
beauty.
Yeah.
This is the top 10 top guns who nearly became Tigers.
Rip.
So the players... Okay, I'll rip through it.
Quickly, because
is-
Camden McIntosh is
Okay,
coming
all right,
up.
okay. So in alphabetical order. So Ron Barassi. Now, GR approached him during the 64 season, right, to come over as playing coach, captain coach at Tigerland, and Barras was real keen. And what put paid to it in the end was because we were trying to obviously do a deal with Melbourne to take over as the co-tenant, and it would not have looked good, obviously, if we'd taken Barassi. So that put it paid to that. Number 2 is John Coleman. Now, I got this from the book. It was a very good book, The Great John Coleman. Coleman said, at one stage I had just about made up my mind to wait and come into league football in 1950 with Richmond. Richmond were very persuasive, and Maury Fleming, the secretary, and Jack Dyer made several trips down to Hastings to see me play.
Imagine if we got John Coleman.
I know. So it was close. Number 3 is Peter Dacos. Got a huge offer.
really?
A huge offer. This was part of the whole trade wars thing,
Yeah.
remember, between Richmond and Collingwood in the early 80s.
When BT crossed over.
Got a massive offer in 1983 to
Dates
come to
has
Richmond.
told me this,
Yeah,
actually.
to come
Yeah.
to Richmond. In the end, his father said that his name was synonymous with Collingwood,
Right.
and he should stick with Collingwood. That was
Yeah.
that was the reason. So, number 4, of course, Tony Lockett. Now you were here.
Yeah, and I remember it distinctly.
Yep. I had a look yesterday.
Yeah.
Doug Vickers was talking about it.
Yeah,
It was a
and-
3-year deal.
Yeah, and we went to London that year at the end of the season and played against Carlton in one of those games. And
Yep.
when we were in London,
Yep, the news came through.
it was filtering through that we
Yep.
were looking at Lockett,
Yep.
and the boys were excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were. It was
so
really
most
exciting.
of the boys were. You know why, Joe, but it never happened? Because
that?
Richo had actually told the club that Tigerland was not big enough for the two of them,
That's it.
and only one could be. So in the end, Richmond said, "Okay, we won't go
No.
after Plugger," and of course,
That's
fair
not
enough.
right. That's
yeah,
not right.
what a shame it never happened.
Oh, I wouldn't have been.
Anyway,
good.
number 5, we've spoken about this before, and you've spoken about this, Matt, to him, is Sam Newman, was obviously Geelong ruck star, stood out of football, seeking a clearance to Richmond. GR had got into his ear, and he wanted to come. He actually quit Geelong, and he stood out for a few months, but Geelong refused to clear him, and in the end he went back to Geelong. Number 6, Jared Roughhead. Now, Jared Roughhead, Richmond was going to take him, so much so that I think that he'd already been invited to a post-draft barbecue that day, okay? Because Lids was always going to go. Richmond was always going to take Brett Delidio at number 1, but we had picked 4. Hawthorn had not expressed any interest in him at all, apparently, and we were going to take him at 4.
We definitely were.
absolutely going to take him at 4.
Yeah.
No, I think we had 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
4.
it was
Yeah.
4.
We were
And then
absolutely, and then
5.
they got in and took him at 2,
Yeah.
and then took Buddy at 5
5,
that they
yeah.
had. So through it. So he was going to be, but anyway.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
To think that
I know.
Franklin got out to 5. Yeah.
Number 7, let's see if you remember this, Dean Solomon.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dean
yeah.
Solomon. Greg Miller actually flew to London to try and secure his signature, and he was keen at one stage, and he ended up staying at Essendon because his good mate Rama, Adam Ramanauskas, had
Yeah.
just been diagnosed with cancer really close, and he didn't want to leave Essendon. So,
Good
but
bloke, Solly. Really good bloke.
Number 8, of course, Jack Trengove of Melbourne, who had agreed, came here, actually did a medical and failed the medical because of the navicular in his foot, so didn't come here for that reason. Now he's back playing footy, of course. Number 9, Ted Whitten, I've mentioned this before. EJ got sacked as Footscray's coach, sacked as coach at the end of 66, during 66, and wanted to come. GR had approached him, and in the end, Footscray again wouldn't give him a clearance, and he had to end up staying there. And number 10, Jason Winderlick, agreed to join Richmond at the end of the 24 season, but then later changed his mind.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That was good.
Thank you.
It's going to be hard for you to come up with a few more, though, isn't it, over the next few weeks?
I'll be right. I'll come up with some
Hey?
good ones. I'll come up with some finals specialists or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'll be right. Yeah, no worries.
Looking forward to this week's game, Tone?
Yeah, big game, obviously,
Yeah.
really big game, and they'll be stung into action, Frag, because they were pretty disappointing, of course, against Sydney. A big loss, but it's a very important game for us. Very, very important, and we need to bounce back.
I reckon
Bounce
they'll
well.
have a bit of sting early because Ross Lyon,
Yeah,
first and
they will.
foremost, he'd be ropeable. They lost by 100 points.
Yep.
But also that whole thing with Collingwood over the weekend.
They'll be stung into action.
Yeah, he'll be pretty keen, Ross Lyon, to get his boys up and
but
about
our blokes
this week.
should be stung into action too, with so much at stake, and obviously a disappointing loss on the weekend.
Of course they will. There's so much to play for.
Yeah, so much.
There is a huge opportunity to finish top four, and I think we'll bring the energy, and I think we'll get the job done. Got to shut down the Hill brothers, though, don't? If they get up and running.
Well, they're very important when they beat us early in the year,
Walters
JB. Walters thankfully isn't there,
but
and obviously, no, they were, 100%. And Fife's back playing good footy now too. So certainly you can't afford to take any team lightly in this comp, particularly now at the business end of the season. So we just need to get the job done.
No, looking forward to getting over there. What about your votes from the Cats game, Tone?
I gave 3 to Nick Floston for all the reasons we mentioned. 2 to Dion Prestius, really found some good form at the right time of the season, business end of the season. And 1 to Kane Lambert, who has just continues his fine consistency.
Yeah, I spoke to Craig McRae about Kane this morning. He's going to be on Coach's Corner this week.
Yep, good.
Gee, they rate him highly.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon his professionalism around the club is unbelievable.
Full credit to him.
Yeah. He's two-way running, so he's magnificent. He had a really good game. What about you, JB?
Not much more to say. I agree wholeheartedly with Tony.
Very
and
good.
his votes.
As you should.
Yep.
3-2-1, Floston, Prestia, Lambert. I gave 3 to Down Prestia. He's really found form now.
He has.
At the right time of the year.
So just running hard too. He looks good,
I thought he was really good. I gave 2 to Nick. I thought it was Nick's just about his best game for the club on the weekend. He's played plenty of good ones, but I thought he was outstanding. I gave Grimesy a vote.
Yep. Very good.
100th game this week. I think he's just having a magnificent year. So I gave 1 to Dylan Grimes. So, gee, Dusty didn't get a vote this week. Unbelievable.
I don't think he's going to lose it though, is he?
No, I don't think so.
No, he's on 102. Dusty's on 102. 49 to Cochin, 43 to Rance. Lambert now up into 4th on 27. And Griggy, our boy Griggy, on 22.
Is this the greatest ever lead with just 2 rounds to go?
I think it is. I think it is, yeah. I think we can safely say it is.
Okay, fair enough. Yep. Well, I've been a complete failure with this, but I'm really going out on a limb. Sorry, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I'm going out on a limb. I had Jack last week for 4. Well, if he'd kicked straight, he probably would have kicked 4 goals. He kicked 1-3. So, anyway, I'm going for Jack Graham to make his senior debut with the Tigers and have an impact, get 20-plus disposals.
Have you spoken to anyone?
I haven't spoken to anyone.
So
I'm actually going to write I just think his body of work, since he's come back in, you have a look at his stats, I'm going to do a story on it, and I just think, with obviously Josh Caddy going out, I think he's earned his spot, and I know they rate him extremely highly, and I just think he'll get an opportunity.
What do they like the most about him? Do you know?
They love
toughness. He's tough.
They love his toughness. He's a grip, but they love his two-way running.
Right.
They love the fact that he'll run into defence and then run forward as well. That he runs hard both ways.
Yeah,
and he's a fierce competitor.
Yeah, I hope that's right. I'm really looking forward to seeing Jack Graham play. What about you, JB?
Oh, that's good. Anthony Dilber would like that.
Yeah,
picking someone underneath. Last week I went Dan Butler to get multiple goals, and he didn't. Kick one.
Yep.
Maybe because he's standing behind me, but I reckon Camden McIntosh.
Yes.
Yep. You don't have to suck up to him.
But I will. He's going home. I reckon he'll have the most inside 50s for us.
Okay.
Yep.
Jeez, he's got a good tash. Look at Camden's tash.
It's a beauty.
Whirling it.
It's nearly up to twirling stage.
He told us not to ask him about it, though.
No, okay, we won't ask him.
I don't know why.
He might have a bit of wax in it today, I think. Okay, my yellow and black are last week. Johnny Peace, loving it. I had Daniel Rioli to have the most tackles on the ground.
Did you? How many did you have?
He only had 5.
Okay.
Scotty Selwood had 13.
Okay.
Did he really?
Scott Selwood. So I didn't get that right. Rioli had 5 tackles.
It's a massive fail for you.
Yeah. Now, on the back of Rancy, having his colours lowered, it doesn't happen very often. He's a superstar.
He is.
I'm saying that he will get at least 5 coaches' votes this week. I think he'll have a huge game back at home in Perth.
Yep.
And probably got a few relos that'll be there watching him, as will Camden, actually. He's from Pinjarra.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Rancy to get 5 or more coaches' votes this week. Okay?
Fair enough. All right. Okay.
Beautiful. Now it's VFL time.
You're looking sharp. You're looking good. You've come so far. And we know how to make the most of who you are. To let the best of men together.
VFL report time, and as always, we're joined by Lou Gillett. And Louis, before we get into the VFL, a couple of pressing issues that I have to raise with you. You've committed the cardinal sin on the weekend, my friend.
And what's that, Richo?
Walking on the green stuff
Oh, now
down at Cardinia Park. Just a yes or no, thanks, Lou.
Okay, it's a yes, but can I defend myself just quickly?
Well, quickly.
I was stitched up by the kind of architectural integrity of Simmons Stadium, and that
Right.
they've placed the coach's box on the complete other side, as far away as
Yeah, I
possible
understand that.
from the media.
I walked around.
Well, JB walked around. I was discussing this with Scones when I got in this morning. Scones walked around.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
So,
I walked around after. It was only a quick one before the game.
I'm sorry,
Not
it
good
doesn't
enough,
cut
mate.
it.
An official caution. If it happens again, we will not accept
I
it.
think
There's
there
gonna
might
be
have
a
been
suspension.
I think there might have been a bigger cardinal sin.
What was
I
that?
think he might have pinched BT's sandwiches. too.
Oh, no,
Out
you
of the-
didn't, did you?
Out of the press area.
Oh, there was
lucky to be
I
alive.
think that's what he did.
Oh, well, Lou, don't do it again and we'll let you off this time. But,
I'll
mate,
keep it in
it was a tight game down there all day.
Yeah, unfortunately, not a whole lot of success in Geelong for the VFL boys either. Richo went down by 7 points. 1 point it was right up until the last minute, and then a set shot for Geelong on the siren just extended that one out. So it was a bit of a heartbreaker. But coming up against the Geelong side who's playing for their lives at the moment, it was always going to be a tough one on their home turf.
Did we just struggle to come to terms again with the ground, the dimensions of the ground, or
Yeah, I think first quarter especially coming to terms with that when Geelong kicked their 4-5, I think it was, to our 1-2, it was obvious that we just needed a bit of adapting to that ground. And then for the remaining 3 quarters, we actually showed a bit of prowess out there. But unfortunately, it was all the damage that was done in the first quarter and just couldn't quite come back from it.
It does restrict ball movement, and they train there. It's not an excuse, but they defend that ground very well, so it can be hard to move the ball there at Geelong.
Absolutely.
can I? No, go. You go, JB. Go on.
Sean Hampson returned for his first game back. Only played limited time. How did he perform in the first half?
Yeah, it was really impressive his first half. 28 hitouts, which I thought was really solid, and most of those ruck contests he was in, I thought he dominated. The clearances weren't necessarily going our way, but for a ruckman coming back, yeah, give him a bit of leeway there. Just a couple of disposals, but 2 marks, 1 very impressive contested mark as well. So it was good to see him get into that sort of pack situation, put a bit of trust in the back holding up. And yeah, I think from that half, there's a lot of positives to take away from his game.
He was moving freely.
Yes, he was indeed. Rotating very well with big Ivs through the ruck as well, so it was good to see that combination in full flight.
I think the plan is that he gets maybe 75% of game time.
Yeah, that's right.
next
So we're
week.
looking
Yeah,
at 3 quarters against Sandringham this week, and then, yeah, hopefully he can get to the 4th quarter from there on.
Now, Lou, you would have just heard Greener's yellow and blacker. He believes
Yeah,
Jack
my
Graham
boy,
will
my boy.
debut this week, and that's not coming from anyone
No,
at the
it's
club.
just, I'm just going with it, yeah.
But he must have played well again.
He did play well, led tackles for the day, 9 tackles for young Jack Graham, so that's really proving to be one of his big strengths. One of the clear standouts for the day, along with Jacob Townsend, I would have thought. 22 disposals he had as well, with 6 clearances and 3 marks. So it's a really well-rounded game, and ever since he's come in for us and he's managed to fight off those niggling
Good body
injuries.
of work he's put together, hasn't it?
Absolutely, it's fantastic. Averaging great disposals. Tackles, as I've already said, is a real strength of his. So you never know, Greeners. This week might be the week for your boy.
Yeah, okay, that'll be good to see. What about Oleg Markov? How did he go?
Yeah, another one of the really solid performers coming off half-back, where I think he does his best work. 21 disposals, which was really fantastic. 3 marks and a couple of rebound 50s, so it was really great to see him playing to his strengths there. Just the 1 tackle there, so maybe a bit more pressure could have been required from his game. But certainly if he keeps going the way he has been, this is one of the more consecutive weeks he's put together over 20 disposals and a couple of marks and a couple of rebound 50s. So really promising signs from him.
We know Caddy's out for for 2 weeks, and we spoke about Graham potentially coming in, and Milesy didn't play in the VFL because he was the emergency for the seniors.
That's right.
And someone like Jacob Townsend as well, who you want to talk about a body of work, he's done it pretty much every
kicked
week over the
goals too,
VFL
hasn't he?
season. So
He's kicked a few goals.
do you think he is someone who could replace Josh?
I think he really he hasn't missed a beat, as you say, over these past couple of weeks, especially in the VFL, consistently in the best, and Saturday was no exception. 25 disposals, 8 clearances, 3 marks and 2 tackles. Wasn't able to impact the scoreboard like he usually does, but I'd suspect if he gets a bit more time forward, if he did go into the AFL side than he usually gets in the VFL side, that could certainly be something that he offers in Josh Caddy's absence.
Talking about the forward half then, who performed in the forward half, who kicked the goals?
Well, that's another one who I think is probably going to be pushing their claim is Ben Lennon this week. He had 13 disposals, 3 marks, 3 tackles and 3 goals, and he was a fantastic focal point going forward. It was very blustery conditions, but it didn't seem to faze him. He was kicking pretty straight all day. So he's certainly one who you might look to, another one who's pushing their selection. Sam Lloyd, perhaps not his best, but I thought was very solid as well. 17 disposals and his 2 goals. He was always dangerous when he went near it as well. So maybe just pushing a small claim there as well, Lloydie.
What about the two small forwards, Bolton and Stengel?
Yeah, it's probably one of the more quiet games that I've seen them play since I've been involved with the VFL. Tyson did get himself his first goal in the third quarter, and that was probably the biggest impact he had. I think despite his 5 tackles, which was great to see, it was probably the most limited impact we've seen him. Shea as well was held really well for 3 quarters, and then 2 goals in the fourth kind of dressed that up a little bit. But I think those 2 young guys in particular will be looking next week to come out and just perform a little bit stronger now that they know what it's like to have those kind of taggers playing on them.
What about a couple of the 2 of the running players in Jaden Short and Connor Menadue?
Yeah, so Shorty, I think, is second week back in the VFL. Another really solid performance. 21 disposals, 17 of them were kicks as well. So it's great to see him playing to his strengths. He was fantastic off boot. A couple of miscued kick-ins in the first quarter. Thought maybe he was just a little bit shaky, but he really recovered from that quite well. Connor Menadue was just a little bit quieter than usual with his 17 touches, but a couple of good marks and tackles means he's also pushing his claim as well if he continues to kind of improve and maybe look to get over the 20-plus disposal mark in a few of his games.
Okay, Luke, very good. Who have we got this week and where are we?
We're on at Punt Road again, finally back. Sunday against Sandringham at 12 o'clock. So gates will be at 11:30 with the AFL side interstate. It'll be fantastic to see a few Tiger fans get down there.
It will be fantastic if you don't walk across the green stuff.
The VFL cameras will be there this week, live streamed on the website, so just be careful.
And we will film it, and if you go on the green stuff again, it may even be a week's suspension.
A week's suspension. I've just come off a week, though. I've come back. I thought I'd come in with good
We might have to replace Chief Watch with Lou Watch.
Well, yeah. Hey, thanks, Lou. Now, hang around, mate, because Camden's just walked in. We want to hear about this 2-ton cement table of his.
Jeez, it's massive, isn't it? Can't wait.
We give you all my gun and dream of Galveston.
Yes, time. Well, Griggy's not in this week, so we've decided to bring Camden McIntosh in to have a little bit of a chat. Now,
right of reply.
Griggy's lined you up a few times on Talking Tigers, Camden. We'll get into that in a minute, but we better ask you about the game first down at Geelong on the weekend. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was, obviously probably not the way we wanted to play most of the game, from what we took from it. But, it was a few things that we can, learn from that game with how we play. In generally, I think that, us boys can just...
was that the first time that you played? Was that the first time you played there?
Yeah, well, my first time.
Yeah.
So did you find it pretty different?
Yeah, I didn't really know the whole ground I set up, but it was just a bit different in general. The ground size, a bit skinnier, real long.
It just affects
no excuses.
It affects ball movement a little bit though, because they defend the ground really well, don't they?
Do. Yeah, train on it every week and things like that. But no excuses. At the end of the day, we went down there and had a plan. Probably didn't come off as well as what we thought.
What about Dimmer's take with it after the game with the players? How was he?
He was a bit disappointed, as you would be. But he kind of just rectified that we're a good team. We're in a good position at the moment, and not to lose faith in what we're doing at the moment as a side. So that was the key message as a group. So we've taken that into this week, and
What about your own year, Cameron? You'd be pretty happy with your form this year, and you've really progressed along.
Yeah, after missing pretty much all of last year with the ankle injury, I just really wanted to get back out in the team and find my feet again and the confidence and things like that.
Yeah.
But I've been, there's a few areas in my game that I need to work on at the moment, and going forward, hopefully in finals footy, put my best foot forward for selection and things like that. But I'm pretty happy just to be out with the boys and tick off 20 games at the moment. I think I played. So this year,
Be happy.
Good.
You spent a bit of time in the back. You like playing in the back half, or where would you?
Well, bit of that versatile sort of player at the moment.
Yeah.
Played most of this the start of this season in the back line, half back and that, a little bit on the wing. But the last few months I've been more on the wing. So it's kind of just changing week to week sort of thing. What Dimmer and the other coaching staff want of me. But I'm kind of happy to kind of play anywhere. Maybe get me out forward, take a few jukes. Here we go.
Get the jukes out. Now, mate, you'd be happy going back to Perth this week. You're from Pinjarra, which is just south of Perth, so you'd be happy to get back home?
Yeah, I'm pumped. Organised dinner for Saturday night with a few mates, and I haven't seen in a while. I've got about 30 tickets of us for the club to get me.
Did they cough them up, 30 tickets?
Well, I've got 20 at the moment. I'm just waiting to see if I can get the other 10. But I've got my grandma coming up from Albany, so it'll be about a 3-4 hour drive. She hasn't seen me play before, so
Oh, good.
yeah, the club's been good enough to help me organise seating and stuff for her there. But yeah, I'm pretty rapt to get back.
Big game, of
Yeah,
course, because
big game.
they'll come out breathing fire. They were pretty, obviously, ordinary against Sydney, so they'll be determined to make amends. So, yeah, and obviously a very important game for us.
Yeah, exactly. It's always, tough to go, interstate and play games and get a win, but, I love Patterson or...
Now, mate, we know why we got you in here today, don't you?
Well, that's it, yeah.
Now, Griggy lined you up last week. He's been having a bit of fun with your cement table, your 2-ton cement table.
I know.
So how's that going? Is it all finished?
Well, yeah, it's finished. I'm probably not happy with the legs that I've got on my dining table at the moment.
Right.
Outdoor dining table at the moment. So I've got Jace Castagna's old man owns a steel fabrication warehouse on Brunswick Street. So he's welding me up some steel legs, some pretty cool rustic looking, industrial vibe sort of legs. So yeah, it's come along nicely, but yeah, I just wanted to change a few things.
So where is it actually situated now?
It's out the back, like on this pavement, brick pavement.
So is it undercover?
Under it, yeah, threw a tarp over top of it because, the wet weather the last couple of weeks has been pretty shocking and didn't want it to ruin it.
Now, Leno's, Ben Lennon's girlfriend, is she forgiven you for using her brush to brush your dog?
Well, that's the thing. Rigger's stitched me up here because he asked me before last week. He's like, "You got anything I can go in there and say on your caps?" And I've said this, and he's completely changed the whole story on me.
So what actually happened there?
Well, I've given my dog a bath out the back next to my dining table.
What sort of dog is it again? What sort of dog?
Aussie Shepherd.
Yep.
So she's got long hair.
Hair.
And I've washed her and I couldn't find my hairbrush for her, the dog brush, and I asked Leno if he'd seen it because he's got a dog as well called Nala. Yeah. But anyway, he didn't see it, so he asked me. He's like, "Oh, do you just want to use Nadia's hairbrush, which is in his bathroom?" And I didn't end up using it, and I looked at Leno like, "You're not for real."
He was stitching his own partner up.
No.
Yeah, he was stitching her up, and I've looked at him like, that's not right. Now Grigger's stitched me up, so there's this bloody flow-on sort of thing that's happening here.
So is that right that Grigger was your mentor when you arrived at the club?
Yeah. So
really,
so he was my mentor. 2-3 years ago, and I thought it'd be a good bloke for Grigger to sort of take me out for lunch, talk about a few things here and there.
Where'd he take you, Spud Bar?
Well, that's the thing. He just opened up his stores in Spud Bar, and we went to his Spud Bar on Swan Street in Richmond, and we get there, and because it was a good thing for first years to take their mentors out for lunch, he ended up making me pay for my Spud Bar and his Spud Bar. So I'm sort of just thinking
Did you get a discount, 10% or something?
No, I didn't get a discount.
That's ordinary.
I had to shout him. I was like, "This is your food, mate."
Oh no, that's really ordinary. That's very. And look, can you just give us an update too on Sam Lloyd's and his vegan diet? Is he still going ahead with the vegan diet?
Well, I think he's pretty set on it at the moment. Yeah. So,
really?
Yeah. He's pretty happy with it, and he thinks it's good for the inside of your body as well.
Okay.
So something funny with Lloyd, that guy.
And I think it was Grigor who mentioned you guys have the cleanest driveway in your block of flats. Have the other tenants brought it up to speed out in Viewbank?
So many stories getting around about this dining table. But yeah, I got Jaden Short around to help me concrete. So it was 15 bags of concrete I needed for this dining table. So I made up all this formwork in the garage. Leno had his car parked down the street for like 3 months while I had to wait for this concrete to set. So I got Shorty around to mix all this concrete up, and while we were doing it, all the powder and stuff was going everywhere. We probably didn't wet down the surface area like we should have done. And us too, we're doing a trade, course outside of footy, so we just didn't pick up on that sort of thing. And anyway, the next day I come out the back and there's just like all this concrete all on the road and things like that. No. And the body corporate from where we live has sent an email to our house, or the Ben's dad that owns the property, and it's like, you have to clean up the driveway.
Oh no.
So I ended up getting this acid down at Bunnings and like threw all this acid throughout all the road, and it's come up schmick. And it's like the cleanest driveway in the street now. So I'm thinking I'm going to send...
The dogs were kept away from the acid though, didn't they?
Oh yeah, locked them out the back, But I'm thinking I should send the corporate, body corporate a message now, being like, get everyone else to clean up
get the acid out. Exactly.
Good stuff.
So what is going to happen with the table? What's the plan with the table?
The plan with the table is to get Jace's dad to sort of weld up a few nice legs for me.
Yeah.
We'll replace the legs that are on there at the moment with this one. and then I'll have the boys around for dinner and drinks.
So it's going to be like a dinner table type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Not going to play table tennis on it.
No.
Okay.
It's 1 metre by 2 metres, so quite wide.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron, we're glad to hear that the table's nearly finished. You'll get the new legs soon. Thanks for coming in today.
No worries.
Can you hang around?
Good luck for the rest of the season.
Good luck over in Perth. Do you want to hang around and just listen to Greener's boring segment?
This will enlighten you. There'll be a bit of enlightenment here. So this is the Spirit of 67, where we celebrate Richmond's 50 years since our drought-breaking premiership back in 1967. So it was round 17, 1967, so the penultimate. You know what penultimate means, Matty?
The second last.
Second last, very good, yep, of the 67 season. So it was Richmond v St Kilda on Saturday, August the 19th.
Yep.
Good crowd of 48,209 turned up. So it was Richmond 12-13-85 defeated St Kilda 7-11 53 by 32 points. Now that win because Collingwood beat Carlton. Carlton have been on top all year, so that they dropped down to second, and we secured the double chance, went to top on the ladder. So just some of the highlights of that game: KB kicked 4 goals, Paddy Gane kicked 4. Now with KB, he had 24 disposals, and this is staggering. He had 5 handballs.
That'd be the most ever, wouldn't it?
This is just incredible. I have to talk to Rhett later about that if he's aware of that. But he had the 5 handballs. Roger Dean, 23 disposals, and Billy Barrett, 22.
Yeah.
Now, what was interesting also about this is that St Kilda team, they took the bus, right, to the MCG.
From St Kilda?
Well, from Moorabbin or wherever they were. Took the bus. They got caught in a traffic snarl. Right, not far from the ground. They didn't reach the dressing rooms until 2:00. A game started back then at 2:20. At 2:08, right, they didn't get into the room. So 12 minutes before the opening bounce.
There you go.
Yeah, they got in the room. So that obviously threw them from the start.
Would have mucked their prep up a bit.
Did, yeah. Now, that same day, also at the Lake Oval, Geelong playing South Melbourne. Geelong, obviously, who we met in the grand final that year. Doug Wade, a lazy 13 goals, 13-7, 20 shots out of 21.
13-7.
13-7 out of a team total of 21-13.
Can you imagine a player doing that now, Cameron? 20 shots at goal.
Get me up at forward.
Get you up there.
I think this could be it. I reckon the second forward that we're looking for.
Just a shot out of the gun, out of the goal square.
Maybe. Now, just what was happening around now? I'm not sure if you've ever seen a movie called The Boat That Rocked.
No.
Great movie. Great movie. So this
Whip through this because Camden's got to get
all right. Okay. So what happened in so Radio London, and this was a top 40 music station that was set up offshore. In London, in the in the North Sea, off Essex, right? 3.5 miles off the coast. But it was shut down because what happened was that these stations, these pirate radio stations, were set up because BBC Radio would not play any top 40 music or whatever. So they'd set up these pirate stations. But a law came in at midnight that prohibited any music or anything. So they shut it down. That was it. So that was a big story from overseas at the time.
That's good. We'll like these, Campbell. Few jokes.
A few good gags coming up. And please feel free to use these, all right? When you host the boys at your dinner party with the table. This will go really well. Did you hear about the bloke whose whole left side of his body was cut off in an accident?
No.
He's all right now.
Oh, gosh.
I read this fascinating, lengthy article the other day on ancient Japanese sword fighters. I can samurise it for you if you'd like.
Scones didn't like that one. That is horrible.
2 hats were hanging on a hat rack in the hallway. One hat says to the other, "You stay here, I'll go on ahead."
Oh, gee.
Did you hear about the cannibal who turned up late to the luncheon?
No.
He was given the cold shoulder.
I like that one. That's a good
There's
one.
a special, I'm not sure, Cameron, if you know, this is a special species of bird that is really good at holding stuff together. It's the Velcro.
Oh, gosh.
What do dogs do after they finish obedience school? They get their masters. And what's the definition of a will? It's a dead giveaway.
Oh, that's there you go. What do you think of those, Camden?
Well,
Couple.
probably
Feel
one
free.
or two there.
Yeah, good.
One or two.
For the gathering around the
Yeah,
dining
they're all
table.
available in my book too. Greener's Gags available at all good and bad bookstores.
Well, thanks for that time. Thanks,
good.
Camden. Thanks for popping up.
Good on you, Camden. All the best,
JB,
mate.
thank you.
Yep.
And good luck in Perth to the Tigers
Yeah,
this
go
week.
Tigers.
We'll be back next week on Talking Tigers. We'll speak to you then.